Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Anakin Skywalker, the latest and greatest commander for the Republic, came to us for Star Wars Armada in Rapid Reinforcements 2, which has taken the Armada world by storm lately for a multitude of reasons. Very cool to get free new content, but Anakin has left us a little confused on exactly how he works. We're going to talk about him today. Is he busted? Is he overpowered? Is he underpowered? How in the heck does he actually work? We're going to ask a bunch of those questions today and discuss this guy and maybe some possibly broken builds or scenarios or ways to run him. But I think he's really cool. But I think we need a lot of answers. So we're going to talk about that in today's video. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed and leave a comment. That's going to enter you to win the big giveaway we got going on right now, the Star Wars Shatterpoint core set in the form of a $165 Amazon gift card that you can use to get yourself a Shatterpoint core set or whatever else you like. And yeah, also check out the links in the video description below. I'd love to have you guys join our Discord and keep the discussion going. It's always a great way to do that. But I want to hear your thoughts on Anakin down in the comments section, because there's a lot of questions right here. He's let's start off just talking about what we do know. He's 29 points. He's Republic commander. He's Anakin Skywalker. It says, while a friendly ship performs a salvo attack, it may add 1 die to its attack pool of a color already in its attack pool. So he's already breaking rules, right? You can't ever add dice to a salvo, but he says, no, I can do that. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. Then he's got a second ability. That's pretty cool. It says, once per activation, after a friendly ship performs an attack that targets an enemy ship, that friendly ship may spend a salvo defense token. If it does, it may perform a salvo attack targeting the same enemy ship. When I first read that, I said, wow, that's awesome. That's like the concentrated fire that the Republic really wanted. I think that's really cool because I looked at it, I'm like, that allows the triple tap because you're going to be able to like line a Venator up and like get that front shot and then get the side shot and then also salvo, which your salvo is going to be adding a die. So that's also cool. And, you know, depending on if you run stuff that's designed to work with salvo specifically, you can take advantage of that as well. But because of the way it's worded, I think there's been a lot of questions. My initial video where I talked about it, I didn't get everything on here. I didn't like get all the little finer bits. And there are other parts of Rapid Reinforcements too that need some FAQ rules questioning. You know, matchstick, for example. You know, there's even some stuff about Draven too. And so I think a lot of stuff does need some refinement because I think the biggest question that I have regarding Anakin is how, like, or any of these cards is, what was the intent? What was the goal? What was the vision behind these? What do you want this to be able to do? And then let's write it to allow it to do that. Because I think, when I look at this card, first off, let me tell you what camp I'm in. And then I'll also talk about the pros and cons against it. I think Anakin lets you triple tap. I think that's the point of Anakin. I think if he doesn't let you triple tap, the basic question is, does this break the rule of 2 attacks? If I, were to front attack and then side attack, and then decide, hey, I want to also salvo, am I not allowed to do that because I've already attacked twice? This card does not say even if you've already attacked. It also, does it break the rule? Can you attack twice from the same hull zone? Right? Because normally you can't do that unless you have gunnery teams. So if I only have you in my front arc, technically that salvo attack would probably have to come from my front arc. And that's another question, is where does the salvo attack come from? Because again, now I think that's maybe the easiest question. So maybe I should have led with that one, because according to the rules, the salvo attacks, where it's coming from is kind of defined by where you were attacked. And if you're not attacked, but you're sending a salvo to do an offensive salvo, then, it does need a slight FAQ in that. However, I think that much seems kind of obvious, but it's still not outlined, and it still probably needs to be. But I think the bigger thing is you can normally only attack once from any given hull zone, but you also can normally only attack twice or 3 times if you happen to be a huge ship, which means he will actually be really cool on huge ships too. So it has been argued that he's only really good for the second part if you only have one shot on a ship. There have been people who are in the camp of Anakin is good because you no longer have to double arc. You can just front arc Venator shot and then salvo, and now you get to shoot twice to the same ship, and that's it. And I'm not in that camp. I don't think that was the idea behind Anakin. I think Anakin still gets his normal 2 attacks, but I'm not saying that somebody else is necessarily wrong. I'm just saying that's the camp that I'm in, because frankly, that sounds really cool, and that's what Anakin would do. He's also not cheap, right? 29 points is not a cheap commander. If all he lets you do is, like, basically, hey, you're not going to be able to salvo anymore because you have to spend your salvo tokens when you're on offense. I mean, like, you would have gotten the same number of attacks eventually anyway. So if all he's giving you is an extra die on your salvo attack, I don't think he would be 29 points, right? So I feel like if he's not giving you an extra attack that you wouldn't have gotten anyway, so you should be able to do the triple tap, like all of it at once. That's the way I think that's the way he was intended. But I'd like to hear it from AMG. Was that the intent, or was the intent to be like, no, it's in place of a side? So if you use Anakin's thing to go this way, you can't do a side shot also, or something to that effect. I'm really curious about that, because there are some examples. There's some ways to look at this. For one, a salvo attack isn't a normal attack. It's got a special thing, right? It's a salvo attack that comes from a defensive thing. It's something you've never done during your own turn before anyway, so it's never even been considered to be like a normal attack. So like the whole rule of you can only perform 2 attacks during your activation, well, that's normal attacks. Like this situation has just never come up before that we really needed to differentiate. Oh, well, a salvo attack is like it's almost like it's in parentheses, so it doesn't count as the stuff that's outside of the parentheses because it's contained when, like in the use of this defense token. So I don't think it counts as one of your 2 attacks, because for one, it has a cost to do it because you have to spend the token, and for 2, it's special provided by Anakin Skywalker, the ultimate bad boy rule breaker. So if anybody was going to give you an extra attack, I think it should be him. Also, while that could be very, very strong, you still have to line up the double arc to make it happen, and that's not always the easiest thing to do. Also, with Venators, I mean, unless you're like at close range, which they're already very deadly, if you can get a Venator double arc at close range, you're already doing really, really well already. But typically Venators don't really have strong side arcs anyway, so it's not like, I don't know, I feel like there's also a skill cost. You have to be able to line up that perfect shot to even make him do the triple tap in the first place. What's probably more likely is you're going to have a front shot on one ship, a side shot on a different ship, and then choose which one you want to salvo to make it like a double tap on another ship. I think that's probably the more likely scenario with Anakin. But of course, you'll be trying to get that perfect, double arc, triple tap. But your opponent's going to know that also, and they may take advantage of that. And plus, you'd have to be at least at medium range to really make this a powerful attack in the first place. Now, on top of all of that, there's other questions that arise from Anakin, because you can really kid out Anakin and a Venator to work with him really, really well. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. For example, I have, local fire control. Let's get an extra salvo token, because now we can salvo when we're attacking, and we can have an extra salvo for defense. That seems fine. Seems a strong thing to do. It seems like people will probably always run that when they're running Anakin as much as they possibly can. Flak guns also seems like an auto include. Hey, now at medium range, I can still salvo with black dice, and then I can add an extra die in there, so I can roll 2 black, a red, and a blue. With doing that, DB 827s obviously sounds like it's a great thing to do also, because even when it's your turn and you're attacking, those are still salvo attacks. So you're going to be able to do flak guns. You'll be able to take advantage of DB 827 heavy turbo lasers. All right. Again, changing any die to a crit, so all of a sudden now Anakin gets like a free black double hit crit on offense if he uses it, and then on defense, especially if you have 2 of those. But reactive gunnery, potential other weird situation, because wouldn't you know it, people have come up, hey, you know what, you can also double salvo with Anakin. The way it's written right now, you can double salvo, and that was an eye-opener to me, because I hadn't considered that initially. And so I thought that was pretty wild. So what exactly do I mean? So reactive gunnery here says, while defending, you may exhaust this card and spend a readied defense token to resolve the salvo defense effect instead of that token's effect. You cannot resolve the salvo defense effect more than once per attack. Okay, so I have a feeling you probably won't be able to double salvo once it's clarified. I have a feeling you won't be able to double salvo once it's clarified. But the way it's written right now, you absolutely can. Absolutely can. The reason for it is you can't spend the same defense token twice during the same attack. But what does Anakin say? Once per activation. Now, when you're defending, this would be another ship's activation, so it won't conflict against when you activate, the ship that's being attacked. Once per activation, after a friendly ship performs an attack that targets an enemy ship. Maybe that should say non-salvo attack. That's an option. But right now, after a friendly ship performs an attack that targets an enemy ship, which according to this can be a salvo attack, that friendly ship may spend a salvo defense token. Now, you haven't spent a salvo defense token yet because you spent something else. Like you spent redirect or whatever to trigger reactive gunnery, and you just did the salvo effect. But that can't be resolved more than once per attack. That attack is over because it says after. For it to say after, that means the attack has to be completely done, and this is the very next thing that happens. So now that attack is over. After, you can now perform a salvo attack targeting the same enemy ship. So it's kind of janky in the interpretation, but according to the exact timing and everything, you can, as it's written right now, if you have reactive gunnery, you can spend a different defense token as long as you've got a salvo that you can spend. You can spend a different defense token to salvo, and then as soon as that attack is over, you may immediately trigger Anakin and then do a salvo attack by spending your own salvo token. Kind of crazy. Maybe that was intended also. I don't know for sure. I know this. If you are doing that, if you run a build like this, you're going to run out of salvos very quickly. You're going to attack. You're going to spend, let's say you turn your contain into a salvo. So you've got brace, redirect, and 2 salvos. You're going to spend 1 salvo during your turn to attack. Then you're going to get attacked back. You're going to spend the other salvo and your evade to attack. So now you've salvoed 3 times. Now, granted, whoever's left, there might not be much left of whoever you're attacking, because now maybe you got the triple tap. In the perfect scenario, you got 3 attacks on them, and they attack you once. You get 2 more attacks back. Now you are down to a bunch of orange defense tokens. By the way, you may want to actually brace that incoming damage. That's pretty tough. I almost could see all of that working for Anakin if it was just his ship. Because then at least you have the option of saying, okay, I can just ignore Anakin's ship because he's going to hit me 5 times in 1 turn if I get anywhere close to him and if I attack him. Let me just ignore Anakin's ship and go for everybody else. But he works on his whole fleet. So you can run 3 Venators, have Anakin on the Venator in the rear, have 2 other Venators up front, and something like that. Now, I mentioned Venator because that's the best ship to run him on. You can still run him on a Victory. You can still run him on something else. But the Venator is definitely the way. And I also put ordnance pods here for another example, but just a way to get yet another attack in, because that one happens. Again, that's just a smaller flak attack against squadrons, but that's yet another attack that you could get. The interesting thing, though, some people have cited that something like ordnance pods does specify even if you have already attacked from that zone this round, which is interesting. Now, it doesn't say even if you've already attacked twice, right? Because it's at the end of your attack step. So, like, that's kind of interesting. But, yeah, so, like, there's weird precedents. Like, shouldn't Anakin have already said also, even if you've already done stuff? I think, honestly, they're started to run out of room for text. And it wouldn't really have been prudent to have an Anakin Skywalker that's got, 6 paragraphs of micro text that you can't read. He's mostly full. There's probably some ways to clean him up. Depending on what the intent is. So what do I propose? In the meantime, I say we run him as broken as he appears to be as far as I'm concerned. Which means, yes, he can triple tap. Yes, he can double salvo. I'm not sure all of that was intended. We don't know yet. But let's run him, because we may never ever get this chance again. This is the most fun way to run Anakin. Let's give Anakin 5, potentially even 6 attacks. I mean, if he's on a ship like this, he could potentially attack 6 times in one turn. Maybe even more than that if he wanted to burn his salvos all on one turn. I guess you could do, like 7, 8, 9? Maybe 9 possible attacks if everybody was attacking him deliberately to get him to spend all the salvos. But yeah, I say we run him. He can triple tap, he can double salvo, and the attack, where does it come from? It comes from, like, whenever you trigger it. So if I attack from my side, then that salvo comes from that same side. If you attack me from my left side and I salvo you, obviously it's coming from the left side. If I then trigger Anakin's ability to do that double salvo, that's going to come from the same as the last one, right? That just seems like good common sense to me. If I attack you, let's say I have you double arced, all right? I attack you once, use his ability, well, that's going to come from that side, and then I attack you from the front with my second normal attack, then, there you go. Like, so I just, that's just basically, I'm being kind of informal about it, but that's kind of how I view Anakin. That's how I plan to run Anakin until we get an official rules lawyering on it from AMG. So it'll be really interesting. I know different folks have different ideas on him. I think it really boils down to what was the intention, what was the vision for Anakin, what did they want him to be able to do, and hopefully they can find a better way to tell that story through these cards. My guess is, though, it will someday be that he can triple tap but can't double salvo. That's kind of my prediction for once everything comes out. I may be totally wrong. It may be exactly the opposite. But I'll say this: if he can't triple tap, I'd be okay with him not double salvoing, because I'm going to be spending. I kind of want the Venators to live. I don't want to spend all of my defense tokens right away, but the salvos are a little stronger here. But if all he's letting you do is an extra die on salvo and 2 attacks from the front, or something like that, with I don't think that's that good. It's not bad, and I'd still try it out, but it would be very unimpressive. Having the goal of trying to set up the double attack and then eventually the triple tap, trying to line up arcs perfectly is a really fun way to play Armada. It works with Akbar. How many times have you tried to get that Akbar slash where you just line up perfectly, and I've got left side and right side. I've got 2 shots with Akbar locked. I get 4 extra dice, or 5, and if I concentrate fire or whatever. Or I have enhanced armament on, and now I get to take maximum advantage of this, which is now going to be 6 extra dice. Awesome stuff can happen if you try to line up a perfect shot. And if Anakin isn't kind of rewarding you for doing that, I feel like what's the point of having Anakin in the first place? He's not doing very much. If he's really just boosting salvo, that's not that good either, because half of the Republic ships don't have salvo. So, It's I think it's got to be a way to boost to boost those Venators and give you that idea to really let's line up that double arc shot. Let's get that triple tap. That's how I think we're gonna run Anakin. Triple tap, probably run him double salvo if somebody wants. I don't know if I'll always run him double salvo. I'll probably do a list build for Anakin here shortly to see how he'll work out. But he looks like he's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys have a lot of fun running him. And let me know if you've been running him already, how you've been running him, what your local groups have been doing. He seems pretty cool. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing and help make this channel possible. So thank you for your continued support. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. Always wash your socks and cowabunga.